I was walking around Omaha and I saw this one building which was a cafe, you know, a hamburger bar or something, called Little King. I was almost certain I dreamt it a few weeks before. Though I've met people that there's theories about that, which is in fact, because I'm sure we've all had that experience, and then déjà vu experiences. So you have déjà vu, but this, I don't think it was déjà vu, it was like, which means it's happened in your life before, I suppose. Well, I suppose it is, a déjà vu is a kind of premonition. But in a dream. But this was definitely, I thought I dreamt it. But there are explanations for that. You know, I mean, one explanation could be that you did dream it, and the world is really spooky, and it means you actually dream things that then happen in the future. And what does that mean? All sorts of strange things. But there's another kind of thing that you know, you see something and it hits a part of your brain that it's to do with dreams, so you think you dreamt it, and in fact you didn't. But I did have that experience in Omaha that I saw this bit and I thought, you know, that's familiar, and I'm sure I dreamt Little King. Because that becomes rather convincing, because it is so inane. You know, you're not dreamt some amazing thing that's happened to you in life, you just dreamt an inane building. But my dreams, I feel very cheated, because in some ways, I could claim quite good things about what happens to me in dreams. You know, like I once heard Robert Rauschenberg saying that he had a dream, and in the dream, he found there was a goose riding a bike. Okay. Then later in his waking life, he finds the bike. Okay, which I think he puts into a collage or something. But of course, to find the goose that can ride a bike is a lot more difficult. He never found that. Well, to me, that's like a Disney dream. It's like a goose riding a bike is like Disney. And I wish I had dreams like that. I don't have dreams like that. And I want dreams like that. I feel cheated. This could be one of my dreams. My dreams and reality are the same thing. Which, you know, I could claim as an old hippie that it means I've got a very unified consciousness. That my subconscious and my consciousness are the same thing. So I've kind of achieved a kind of a unity. But what it kind of means, that is with me. My dreams and reality are the same. Okay, but I do feel cheated. I want my dreams to be different. You know, I want Disney. My name's Steve Pearl, and I'm involved in theatre. I'm a theatre director. There's a point in my life, actually, where I was more performance art type of person. Actually quite well known for working in that strange channel between what's known as live art and what's known as performance art. Even then, I'd moved back more into mainstream theatre, although having said that, it was still rather avant-garde. In fact, at that point in Liverpool, I was directing a puppet version of Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. And that was when I encountered Lindsay Sears. Lindsay was playing in this backstreet theatre in Liverpool. She was performing a ventriloquist act, but it wasn't a normal ventriloquist act. It was a performance art type of thing. What she communicated through the dummy was the work that she'd done for the previous 12 years. And what she did before ventriloquism was this performance piece, an ongoing performance piece, in which she became a camera. And I suppose in a sense that just like the ventriloquism, that itself was an obsession and a form of visual ventriloquism. Lindsay came over as a very solitary person, in fact, quite a lonely person. She told me about a relationship she had. I think she was living in Southend-on-Sea at the time, and she was going into a local photography shop to get her materials, and she got to know quite well the young man that worked there. In fact, I'm not sure they kissed in a normal way. She carried over her performance piece into her personal relationship. This relationship seemed one of the few parts of her life where she was sharing something of herself. But of course that something was her work. She also had a recurring dream, and in this dream, she is an artist, a sculptor actually, and she creates the most incredible sculpture. In the dream, she goes into a gallery and sees the very same sculpture by another artist. This leads to an overwhelming feeling in the dream of despair. This carried over into her, if you like, her real life. She's in Ireland doing her I Am a Camera performance piece, goes into a gallery in Dublin and finds a piece very, very similar to one of her own. This is a piece where the artist is holding a hand mirror, and it's a self-portrait of the artist as a camera taken in this mirror. And this, in real life, if you like, leads to this traumatic feeling and engineered her change of direction into ventriloquism. I think the reason that Lindsay Sears believed Bill to be Stooky Bill was that in the coffee bar in which she found him in the attic, that was the place where John Logie Baird did do his first experiments with television. He was using the dummy, Stooky Bill. One of these experiments went wrong and the dummy caught fire. So there was this moment where the dummy saw its own image at the moment that it was also being partially destroyed and was on fire. This, in Lindsay Sears's act, becomes a basis, I think, of a form of trauma, where the dummy, and it becomes the basis for multiple personalities, in effect, I suppose. In fact, Lindsay Sears and the dummy used to watch television together and assume some of the characters they were seeing on the television. And again, that became incorporated into the act. But it was a flux. It was this very interesting flux of meaning related to multiple personalities, to negation of one fixed role, one fixed personality. And then a second dummy emerged. Candy Cannibal is a negative and loops back to Lindsay's previous life, the I Am a Camera existence, and becomes an alter ego in that way. So we have this blue head with white hair, quite a terrifying image. It starts becoming a camera through the mouth, just like Lindsay was in her earlier life. It's taking photographs of people. There comes a point where the people, then some of them realise that's what's happening, and you get all sorts of reactions. Just like the period of her life when she was a camera came to an abrupt end through the trauma of the dream and then finally the trauma of the experience in the Dublin gallery, the period of her being a ventriloquist also came to a somewhat abrupt end, and the way that happened was quite upsetting actually. There was a burglary of Lindsay's flat, and Bill was just stolen, and she went kind of crazy about this. I mean, you know, it was obviously like stealing a part of herself. That's how that came to an end, and the dummy was stolen, and it was over. She then went back to Mauritius, which is where she was born. I think her family were in the diplomatic service or something like that. Yes, I got this postcard from Lindsay from Mauritius, and in the postcard she told me that she'd gone to see Madame Kwok, this fortune teller, who had advised her, or almost ordered her, to cut all ties with ventriloquism. And that's the last I have heard from Lindsay. I found her a very interesting person. I found her work very interesting, so I'm always hoping she'll be in touch again, but I somehow got a feeling she won't.